spaces and became aware of a deep stillness that is home to a loving awareness. And that awareness is holding unconditional love. And I call it the place that's right here and everywhere. And it's changed my view of the world. It changed my perceptions. I see things differently now after having these experiences. Not always differently. A question to me, what's the meaning in pain? What's the meaning in suffering? And I'm not here to answer those questions, but I'll just talk a little bit about my journey about meaning. So here are some of the questions that I've asked myself. And I'm going to tell another story. When I was 9 years old, I loved collecting frogs. And I had about 10 frogs in a little bucket, a little aquarium that I caught at a lake. And then I noticed that one of the frogs, the bigger frog, ate the smaller frog. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. And first I thought, well, that small frog must have accidentally jumped in the air and just happened to land in the big frog's mouth as the frog was yawning. That's how I made sense of that. I mean, because I just love frogs. I thought they were so innocent and wonderful and cute that I couldn't imagine that to happen. But that was not the case. And I had trouble believing that the nature of frogs could be barbaric in that way, and that a larger frog would eat a smaller frog, because I wanted all frogs to be safe. So later in life, as I grew, I watched on TV baby gazelles being chased by a lion, and then I would see baby lion cubs, and wanted those baby lion cubs to have plenty of food. And you know what that means? You know what that means? That means that there's going to be one less gazelle in the world. And I would ask myself, well, what's the meaning of that? What is the meaning of it? What am I missing here? And there were times when I would be driving and occasionally see a dead animal on the road. And I would ask myself, what kind of divine light would allow such things to happen? What's the meaning of it? And just kind of asking these questions kind of makes me want to hide myself. They're not really empowering questions, especially when there's no answer to make sense of it. But these are some of the questions I've asked myself. And another another story I recently read about is I heard of a well-known painter, an artist, who would paint every day in all sorts of weather. And his philosophy was, never change your plan because of the weather. Be like Zen and go with the weather. Be with the weather. And he said, let the weather reveal itself to you in all its variety and grandeur. And his painting sometimes reflected the grandeur of the weather with the shades of light. And then one day he brought his canvas and his paint into a green valley, and he met a chilly spring rain. And he got pneumonia and died. So I like this poetic zeal, but what's the meaning of the story? And I will revisit these stories about the frog, about the painter, about animals as I go on, as I explain some of the meaning that I found. So let's talk about divine light. Divine light is our spark, and I believe the divine light animates everything you see, and that divine light only knows itself as unconditional love. And when you know who you are, and when you know what you are, perhaps there is no need to create meaning. When you are in peace and just being with that peace, why even bother creating meaning? You just be with the peace. And hopefully the meditation kind of opened that door a little bit for that experience. So unconditional love, I believe, is perfectly clear. because it points to unconditional love. Love is clear, and there is nothing else but that love. And so creating meaning does not make sense within divine light, where there is only the completeness of unconditional love. And it is not divine's light to create meaning. That is for me and you to do. So I'm going to say that again. It is not divine's light to create meaning. That is for me and you to do. Divine's light's job is to share the sunlight of its love, and that's it. It is totally complete, totally loving, and is sharing that. And when we receive that, we are inspired to create meaning. And if we don't receive that light, and we see just the death and the hurt and the pain, well, then we may create another meaning, that there's no God, that there's no love. And from that perspective, there is some truth in that. But that truth is more of where that person is coming from my perspective. So, divine light does not create meaning, and that is for me and you to do. And I'm wondering if that might be a spiritual truth. I wonder about that. So divine light shares its light and love, and creating meaning is for you and me. And so where there is unconditional love in this place, within divine life, there is no time. It's eternal. There is a profound peace beyond our understanding. There is total completeness. Meaning doesn't exist here. Just love. And so here, in this plane, we want to make sense of love. We come here to have more clarity and to create meaning. And I believe that meaning always points to love. So within the realm of the divine light, meaning is outshined by love. The idea of meaning is just outshined by the beauty and warmth and presence of love. Now, in this realm, not the case. In this realm, we have a world of two, and meaning is a beautiful tool. So, in this physical realm, I want to share something that I had a sense about. And this helped me to make sense of life. That in the spiritual realm, it's just light that's shining through. And maybe this is on the outside of that spiritual realm. And say, this is the physical realm. This is where we are now. This is where we're living. And they overlap. But they don't overlap perfectly. Let's see if I can get this correctly. There we go. They don't overlap perfectly. So this realm is shifted. Now, if I turn that light on, you'll be able to see, if they did overlap perfectly, the light would shine through perfectly. I don't know if you can see that. And if they shine through, we would remember heaven. Here we forget. We remember the place before. Here we forget. But because there's a shift in this reality, this realm is physically shifted away from the ways of divine light. And there are lots of reasons for that. But I want to say that even though within the shift, the holes are smaller, but divine light is still getting through. Okay? I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to shut this off, and I'm going to revisit this again. Here we go here. And so, in our physical realm does not line up perfectly with heaven. And that's why we have time. That's why we have duality. That's why we have other choices besides love. That's why the soul can grow amongst more variety of choices and what we choose for our own soul and for our own selves. And so our own lives mimic the same shift too. And I will revisit that as well. So I want to talk about the creative process. So divine light is shining through and sharing the substance of unconditional love, not fully, but enough. And that substance I symbolize as light in this talk. And when we take that substance, when we allow that spark, we can make things. We make things out of our life. There's a clarity in the light where we have a clarity of what we want to create. We make a story which is our life theme. We create beliefs in which we mold our life. And hopefully those beliefs change over time as we grow to change our perspectives of life. And so the love, the light that we are always receiving allows us to create meaning as part of our creative process. And so the creative process includes sharing, and when we are in the creative process, we want to share that light too, that we are receiving. That sharing the meaning of love and sharing the glimmers of love that I'm allowing through me, and that I can create with that love, is the creative process. That creation itself is mimicking God's eternal presence everywhere, and that we can create and recreate that over and over again. As joy, as fun, as love, as peace. And so creating meaning is our job, and it was never the job of divine light. The divine light gives us the substance of love, the light behind this realm in which we can create meaning. And that meaning includes love. And when we include meaning, when we hold meaning in a way that includes love, we ourselves shine brighter. We become happier. Life makes more sense. So let me demonstrate. So when we are aligned with light, we leave the past, we leave the future, and align to the clarity of this very moment. And we begin to see with compassion, we begin to see beauty, we feel love, we feel at peace, we are seeing with the light that's shining through. And these moments are meaningful. And can we have them all the time? Well, I think we can have them more than we usually do. I think we can have them most of the time. And so just like the duality is a shift from heaven, I'm going to turn this light on, is a shift from heaven where the light is still coming through but not maybe as fully as bright. This is also symbolic of each person, that when we allow the light, we find meaning, we find beliefs, we find something within our lives where that light can shine through. And then as that light is coming through, we can see the colors. We can create with these colors. And when we shift far enough away from divine light, nothing comes through. Everything looks dark because we don't have the clarity of love coming through. Everything looks fearful. Everything looks scary. Monsters are in the dark. We can't see the dark. We can't see anything in the dark. We're walking blind because the light of love is not shining through and showing us or guiding us. So when we are allowing that light to come through, we have the clarity of meaning. And part of that clarity involves responsibility. That when we create meaning, we are taking total responsibility for everything we care about. So is caring meaningful? To me, yes. And when we take responsibility for everything we care about, we are allowing the light, the divine light, to shine through us. And then we can see more clearly the next step to affect change. When we take power, when we take responsibility, we are meeting our own power. Not power over people or over others, but power with the light. We are shining with that light. And then from that, we can affect change in ways that benefit everyone and not just ourselves. This is meaningful to me. Meaningful. It took me a while to get to this place to be able to say that. Because I see a lot of selfishness out there, and I used to think, well, maybe I need to be selfish too. I don't want to be selfish. I want to have meaning and be true to that meaning. To be true to what I do benefits me and you. So the lady that I met earlier, a few years ago, she blamed divine light for the ways things are. But blaming divine light is like blaming the air that we breathe. It just doesn't make sense to the air that we breathe. I blame you, air, for all the things you've done. It's not going to respond. It doesn't make sense. Divine light is kind of like the same way. So divine light would say, hey, dude, I am just unconditional love shining my light. You know, you have the choice to make meaning of everything. Here, see by my light. Let it guide you into something that's more meaningful. So blaming is holding perhaps a belief that love is lost, that love doesn't exist, and it sees the world through the eyes of a victim. And I've seen the world through the eyes of a victim. I know what that's like. And I know what it's like to be on this side, to see the world through the eyes of light. So I can talk to both, and I will. I am. Has anyone ever blamed anyone else or anything in life? Has anyone ever done that? Okay. So I'm not alone here. I'm feeling grateful for that. But when we are not blaming, the opposite of not blaming is taking responsibility. And part of that responsibility is creating new meaning that holds love, that holds one love, and that holds a new empowerment to effect change for the things we care about. Now meaning has power. Now meaning has meaning because it brings you to the movement of love, the movement of your passions. I don't know about you, but that's meaningful to me. So let me go back to the animals on the road that I've passed by that have died. The meaning that I created for myself is that divine light does not know death, only life. And that divine light knows our souls and sees our souls and sees the souls of those animals, which cannot die. And that the bigger part of those animals that got hit by a car or run over are now back within divine light. And sometimes I still see their remains as I pass them by, and I bless them in honoring their journey to divine light. I say also, thank you for helping me create a new meaning that holds both a tinge of sadness, but also love from a deeper understanding. So I created new meaning because I've asked the question, what's the meaning of this? And received my answers. Those souls of the animals are in the hands of divine light. They are home. There is no death. And from that meaning, I can be more at peace. So I created a new meaning, and I was no longer blaming God or being a victim of an unloving divine light. And I found a deeper understanding of not just animal soul, but my own soul. And speaking of taking responsibilities, I saw pictures of a bridge that spanned 4-lane highways in parts of the United States. I think it was California. And those bridges were designed and built for animals to cross the highways so they wouldn't be killed all the time. And so there's a group of people that took responsibility for the care of those animals. And they influenced the building of that bridge. They created meaning about the reverence of life. And from that meaning, they affected change. And then more animals can live out their natural life cycle and live more safely. So it was meaningful. It was meaningful. In the spring, I'm going to share a weird story that no one knows, maybe except for one person. So I don't want you to share this story with anyone. You promise? Promise? I want to see those. I promise. I'm not going to share your story, Mark. I'm not seeing the heads nod. I want to see the heads nod. Just one. Okay, we got one. Okay. In the springtime, I walk the parking lots where I used to live and even this church, and I pick up worms and bring them back to the grass. In the springtime, worms come out like crazy, and then they go on the pavement and they don't know how to get back on the grass and they end up dying. So it's something I can do to care for them. Their life is meaningful to me. I'm also a fisherman and appreciate them. And I took responsibility for caring for them and became inspired to walk those parking lots during spring rains. And honestly, I have saved hundreds and hundreds of worms over the past 10 years. And that's meaningful to me. That's meaningful. I'm taking responsibility for something I can change. Life is unfair, perhaps. Life is painful. There's death. But I can do something about that. And so creating meaning motivates change. Creating meaning gives you a sense of empowerment. Creating meaning opens you to creative solutions. And this is the light of love that's shining through you. This is the light of love that's shining through you. Because we dare to create meaning that holds love and also holds the sadness and pain of what is, but changes our perspective, changes our beliefs, and empowers us through creativity and being responsible that we can affect change. We've aligned with the light through a new meaning. And that's meaningful. And so when we align through the light, motivation to empowerment to creativity, we can see the colors of divine light. And we get to play with the colors. Notice the colors here. Notice all the colors in this picture. We get to play with the colors of love. And we get to create with those, whatever we want to create. But when I blame divine light for all the wars and the suffering, I stopped expanding the light through me, because I'm seeing being as a victim. Tough to do, tough to do. I see the war in Ukraine, and it's hard for me sometimes not to be a victim of that, or to see through the lens of a victim, But what I do see is a lot of support for them. I see hopefully the Russian people will create changes because of this in their own government, slowly creating new meaning to help me make sense of the law of the war while I'm holding love. So I need to hold both. And that's the beauty of a meaning that can hold both the love and the pain. So what did I say about animals eating other animals? I said earlier that when I was 9 years old, I collected frogs, and one of the bigger frogs ate a smaller frog. I couldn't believe it, and would see baby gazelles chased by lions, and then see the baby lions, and I want them to have plenty of food, which meant, killing other animals for them. So the meaning that I made, I'm going to shut this off. So the meaning that I made comes from another story. I used to meditate at a pond, and I would love pollywogs. And I would see, on occasions, an innocent pollywog being eaten by a dragonfly caterpillar. Dragonflies lay their eggs in the water, they hatch, and they become like underwater swimming things with big teeth. And those things would eat pollywogs for lunch. And I thought, how cruel is that? And then I just noticed that. And as time went on, the remaining pollywogs became frogs. And as time went on, the dragonfly larvae or caterpillars bloomed into beautiful dragonflies. And then what I saw was a frog just standing perfectly still. And then the dragonfly would fly by the frog. And then suddenly the dragonfly was not there anymore. Gone. So the roles were suddenly reversed. And I watched all of this unfold over one summer, and it created new meaning to me. That the new meaning is that there's something else in force here that's creating balance. That nature is not about survival of the fittest. Nature is about balance. And in that balance, every soul gets to experience life, even if it's for a few seconds. How cool is that? There's a big line in the spiritual realm saying, let me be human, let me experience life, so that I can know more about what love is and experience it. So I can know what it's like to be a great hunter, but yes, I can also know what it's like to experience death. Oh, and by the way, there is no death. I just transition into life, and I get to be in both worlds. So I created new meanings for my little friends at the pond, that the nature is balanced, and that every life gets to experience all that life has to offer, including hunting, fulfilling a purpose of that particular animal or bug or frog, helping other species to survive. How cool is that? There is a kindness in that at the soul level. I'll die so that you can live. That is so beautiful to me. It is an act of kindness at the level of souls. And so that new meaning now brought me acceptance, brought me peace, and acceptance and peace are what? Are the colors of love that I can see now. As the light shines through with new meaning, I can see the colors of love and appreciate the picture. I'm no longer in the dark. I'm not seeing in black and white anymore. I'm seeing in color. And what about the painter? His philosophy was to never change your plans because of the weather. To let weather reveal itself in its variety and grandeur. And then on a cold day, he caught a chill and got pneumonia and died. So what's the meaning of that story? Well, here's the thing. I have no idea what the meaning of that story is. I'm still in the process of figuring that out. You know, when I first heard that, how unfair, how sad. But was I allowing the light of love through when I was thinking that? I was not. I was in the victim. And when I'm ready to move away from that victimness and allow light to come through, there will be a meaning that will present itself to me in that story. So this is an ongoing process. I'm always creating meaning, always reframing, and it's always pointing to love, to the light of love, always. Reframe. So when you ponder the idea of the meaning of the universe will reveal itself in the form of an answer. But only when you can leave, perhaps even the question. Sometimes those questions, what is the meaning for it, has a victim nuance to it. I mean, what's the meaning of death? I mean, it's kind of yucky, you know. But ask yourself, there is no death. But if the answer is there is no death, there is only life, now that's an empowering answer. And I'm ready to move now with life. I'm not holding back as a victim. That is scary out there. I'm staying where it's safe. But we weren't meant to stay where it's safe. We were meant to move with love. We were meant to move with light, and that's the safest place to be. There's no other safer place than be with the light. And that light wants to share itself, which means we need to move with love. We need to get out there and share it and shine with it. That's meaningful. So, in conclusion, I'm going to share another story. I heard a teacher tell a student who was complaining and feeling sad and crying. This student was a girl student, and she was saying, "It's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair." And the teacher said something I thought was very wise. She said, "Life does not always appear to be fair. It does not always appear to be fair. But here's the thing, I love you. I love you." And when the student heard this, that she was loved by the teacher, she found new meaning in that experience. And that the unfairness kind of waned away. And she found her spark again. And she fanned that spark until it became a flame. And then she re-engaged with life. She held both the unfairness of her, or perceived unfairness of the experience, but she also found love to light the way so that she could create new meaning. And then from that new meaning, engaged life again. So meaning holds the ability to hold both sorrow and the joy, to hold both the bitter and the sweet, to hold them both. And that's what love does. That's what divine light does. Divine light is holding it all, but never leaving its own light. And that's our job to do too. So connecting with others and learning to connect lovingly with ourselves keeps the light on. Keeps the light on. Within ourselves. That life does not always seem to be fair or easy, but you are loved. And if you can bring that love to yourself personally, great. I cannot do that all the time. Sometimes I need other people to say it to me so that I feel. It means a lot when other people say, "I love you." And I think, "Whoa, that's good. I'm ready to go and engage the world again." That's all I needed, was to hear that. And that's what this community is here for. This community is here to say, life is unfair, or I hear that you're perceiving life as unfair. I love you. And then see what happens. The light starts to show, not just shine through the other person, but yourself too. So we are here to learn and to be an expression of that love, of that light. And we express that love and that light by embracing our own humanity. We are not pretending to be anything less than human. We're not pretending to be tough, to be strong. We are pretending to hold it all. The sorrow, the hurt, the anger, but also the kindness and the love. To hold it all. That's meaningful. That's meaningful to me. And in creating meaning that includes love, we begin to see the beauty of new ideas and the excitement of life. And we find a new strength being forged from our challenges. That's meaningful to me. And creating new meaning allows love to shine through us so that we can hold both the hurt and yet find the joy while engaging life. And that's the end of my lesson. So, thank you. I meant to shut this light off because I didn't mean to blind you all that time with my own with this light. So next time I'll get that. So mics are open. Feel free to pipe in.
Well, I always have a comment, but we had talked about love before you did your speaking, but what you said sounds so much to me like the law of attraction.
Yeah, yeah.
Because what the law of attraction talks about is the source. And the source to me is light, but it's more than light because it's love. It's an energy that's beyond even light. But, so it's even there in the darkness. Because but in any case, and at some point in my life, I learned that at a deep level, that there is love. And it's a kind of trust in love. So even when I'm complaining and I'm having a rough day, I know somewhere in my consciousness, in my awareness, that there is love. Or if you want to say, good, source, God, whatever your word is for that particular energy. But because I know it somewhere in me, I trust it. Even though I'm having a crappy day, I'll find something I lost. I'll meet a friend who says, hi, how are you today? My kid will call me. Something happens because of my outlook. And that's like your holes in your paper there. It's my outlook.
Yes.
You know, I create my world, bottom line. No one else can create it for me. And if I accept love, then I'm creating with that little spark. And sometimes it flows out and shines all over, and sometimes it really works hard. But I believe there is that vibration of love. And the only other thing I wanted to say is, you have to start with knowing you are loved. It's an inside job. It does help to look out and see it, and see love out there, because then you think, well, wow, if there's love out there, then there's love in here too. But I think accepting that love in yourself is like first things first. Know you are loved. That's all I have to say.
Thanks. And that took me a while to learn that myself. And for a while I would search outside for love, and it never really did fulfill me. But it was a step towards finding the love within myself. As I let people love me and care for me, in recent experiences too, then I became more secure within myself, and that opened up the channels of my own light. So I think there's some kind of dance between both of them, that the outside people loving me opens the door for love within me, and when I open the door with love within me, I shine brighter and share that love with others, which opens their door within them. So I think that's the connection of loving relationships. That's the dance. Those are my thoughts on that. But I loved everything you said. Of course, I always do. Thank you.
I was thinking about what you said in the talk about creating things, and I've always thought that at an early age that one of the main things we took a physical body for was to develop our skill on creating things. And I was thinking, what is involved in creating? And we from an early age, we are creating ideas, we are creating suggestions, we are maybe creating new machines or new techniques. And I was thinking, when we're young, we sometimes go at it at a kind of a haphazard manner, or a problem comes up and we immediately try and find the easiest solution. And I think that we learn in life that not all of our creations turn out well, and we throw them in the scrap pile and, let's see, how can we improve on that? And for what you were saying is that it's good to get in contact with God or light or whatever this process is, and plan it a little better instead of going at it in a haphazard manner. And the results usually are more efficient. We get more done in less time.
Yes.
I like the idea of the animal bridge. I had seen that, and I think, you can have this, well, that's unfortunate, and you think, and that's the light coming out. Wouldn't it be fun? We could go do that. We could build a bridge for the animals.
I sometimes think about creating an underground bridge, for raccoons and squirrels, like a big tunnel so that they can go underneath the highway. And I'm not sure why people haven't done that yet. But I'm guessing probably because they're waiting for me to take responsibility for that idea. It's meaningful. It's just meaningful.
Good morning, everybody. I don't really have any sharing, but thank you for a wonderful lesson. It's a lot to think about how we have the power to create more meaning in our lives.
Sometimes when I see something I don't like, I would say, what's the use? Life is too hard, and then I lost my meaning. But when I can bring meaning into it, then more often than not, it's an opportunity for me to shift, because I'm beginning to see with love, begin to see with light. It feels better. It's more hopeful. And then there's an opportunity for me to affect change. If I don't like it, the responsibility is mine to change my view or to change the form of what I'm seeing.
So.